Hi everybody, welcome to Real Rebel. Today I am going to talk about the movie The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage. This is one of the most original movies I've seen in a long time. I saw it in the movie theater yesterday with some friends, and I haven't gone to a whole lot of movies in the last few years. Part of it is because of everything that's been going on, and then also a lot of the movies are Marvel derivatives or DC Comics or any of that. Nothing wrong with those. It's not really my thing. And so I don't really go to the movies a whole lot. The last movie I saw in the movie theater, I think, was the movie called Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's amazing. Bob Odenkirk basically plays John Wick, if you can imagine. It's like, oh yeah, that's crazy. No, he did it, and he was amazing in it. And Christopher Lloyd is in it. It's funny, it's full of action. Thumbs up, 4 cat paws for that one. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent kind of reminds me of a movie that came out about 15 years ago that starred Bruce Campbell, and it's called My Name is Bruce. And basically he's playing himself, but it's like a caricature of himself, and he gets caught up in kind of a plot that's like a lot of the movies that he was in, like the Evil Dead movies and all of that. And that's really a lot like what this is. And so Nicolas Cage plays Nick Cage, the actor. He has a family, but it's not his real family, but he's dealing with issues with his relationship with his teenage daughter and how it's strained. He also has an ex-wife that he doesn't really connect with very well, and he's trying to. And his career is also stagnated, and everybody tells him, like, what happened to Nick Cage? Like, how come he doesn't do anything good? Like, he needs to do the next big thing to become that it guy again. And he's like, I never went anywhere. He also has money troubles, like in real life, which I've actually read that he's paid off all of his debts, which is commendable. That's why he's been in 30,000 movies since 2005, is so that he can pay off all these debts, and I gotta respect him for that. But I've been a huge Nicolas Cage fan for many years, and a lot of it is because of his caginess and just how crazy he is. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I'm definitely in that camp that thinks that he's a good actor. He's very polarizing. People are like, oh, he's amazing, he's a genius, or they're like, he's the worst actor ever. And I can honestly see both sides. I really can. I can see him in movies and I'm like, this is not good. But then I've heard this saying, when Nicolas Cage is good, he's great, and when he's bad, he's awesome. And it's so true. And in this movie, he gets caught up in this espionage kind of plot, a lot like the movies that he's been in. His co-star, Pedro Pascal, I don't know if I'm saying that right, was so good in this. He's such a good counterpart to Nicolas Cage, because as they're going through all of this action and their friendship is building, he just adores Nick Cage in the movie, and in real life the actor adores Nicolas Cage, and so he said it really wasn't a stretch to play this character. And so it was really cool to see that. I think that if you are a big Nicolas Cage fan, you have to see this. There's a lot of kind of inside jokes that probably, if you're not a Nicolas Cage fan, or if you're not familiar with his work, a lot of the movie's probably going to go over your head. But I found it extremely entertaining. I think just as a standalone movie, you could probably watch it, and it's got good action in it, and it's got a really interesting story. So I think that you could watch it, but you should watch more of Nicolas Cage's movies, like Face Off and Snake Eyes. And one of my favorite movies of his is called Matchstick Men, and he plays this person who is obsessive compulsive. And it's so funny to see him play that part. He has little tics, and he gets really frustrated at little things, and he's so good at it. And his co-star, Sam Rockwell, I think that's the first movie I ever saw him in. He is amazing. He's so good. He's such a good con artist actor. I love that movie. And then Alison Lohman, I believe, is also in it. The three of them together, so good. I highly recommend Matchstick Men if you have never seen it. It's one of those movies that kind of flew in under the radar and doesn't really get a whole lot of attention. So if you can find it and sit down and watch it, you won't be disappointed. It's a really fun movie. So I mentioned I saw this with some friends. One of those friends, a few years ago, we were sitting down and I was telling her about This kind of aversion that I have to the actor Bryan Cranston, who played Walter White in Breaking Bad. I think he's an amazing actor. I think the Walter White character is one of the best written characters in TV history, and I have a lot of respect for him. I think that Bryan Cranston is an incredible actor, but there's something about him that I just like, I don't know, puts me on alert. There's just something that it kind of makes my stomach turn. I don't know. I just don't like him for whatever reason. But again, I still recognize how great of an actor he is. And as I'm telling her this, she's like, oh yeah, I have one of those actors too. That just every cell in my body hates this person. And I'm like, who? And she said, oh yeah, he was in this movie, something with cars and they're driving really fast. I'm like, it's not Nicolas Cage, is it? And she said, yes, that's it. And I'm like, no. And I kind of had a Nicolas Cage moment, just like, no. And so my friend, being the wonderful person that she is, said, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch your favorite Nicolas Cage movies. And I'm like, really? You can't stand him? Like, why would you want to do this? And she said, no, I think it'll be fun. Maybe I'll see what you see. I'm like, okay. So she came over, we watched Matchstick Men, we watched Face Off, which she hated, and Vampire's Kiss, which she hated even more, but she still had a great time. And I think that that's one of the magical things about Nicolas Cage, is that even if you can't stand him, you're gonna get entertainment value out of him, because he is just so watchable and just so interesting and unique that he's like no one else you've ever seen. And so if you haven't jumped on the Nicolas Cage bandwagon yet, you should. I can't say that my friend likes Nicolas Cage, but I know that I think that she enjoys the experience. And she was laughing just as much as the rest of us, maybe even more. So I think that, like I said, if you don't like him, you're still gonna get entertainment value out of him. I gotta say, I think he's like in really, top form. Nicolas Cage gives this movie his all, like he always does. The last movie I saw him in was Color Out of Space, which was a total mind. And he had some really funny lines, but it's a really scary, disturbing movie, and he was so good in it, and the movie was really definitely worth watching, but really kind of disturbing. The other movie was Mandy, and Mandy is just some horrible things happen in Mandy, but he is so good in it, and he goes full on complete Nicolas Cage by the end of this movie, and he's so entertaining, and he just goes so crazy, and he's so badass in it, and it's always a wild ride when you're watching a Nicolas Cage movie. And I ran into Nicolas Cage once, sorta. It was at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in San Francisco, and I didn't know that his wax figure was there. I turned around the corner, and I lost my shit. I mean, I went around the corner. I've got pictures my husband took of me. I'm jumping up and down. You can't even see my face. It's a total blur because I'm just going ape over Nicolas Cage. I put my arms around him. Dude's tall. They make those wax figures in the exact replica of the person, so it's like the same height and everything. The dude is tall. I had to like reach up to I don't think you're supposed to touch those things, but I didn't care. I was like, Nicolas Cage wouldn't care. He would laugh. He would be totally on board. He'd be like, hey, let's stick something up his nose or something, and it would just, it was a lot of fun. One more thing I've got to mention is I talked about the movie Vampire's Kiss very briefly. It's probably his craziest movie, his craziest role, and one of the things that made me really actually respect Nicolas Cage is that I bought the DVD years ago. Movie's bananas. I mean, it's really, really out there. And he did the DVD commentary for it. And for him to go back and do a commentary on, the movie came out in like 1989 or whatever, and he did this commentary probably in the mid 2000s. He had obviously it would become very, very successful between those 2 points, and I liked it that he went back to this movie that, didn't, make a lot of money or anything like that. It was an independent type of a movie, but he went back to it to talk about it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, he wasn't like too good for the movie. The reason that he went back is that that's where he did a lot of his experimental work in his acting. I think everybody should watch that movie just to see how he has no boundaries as far as what he's capable of in doing a movie, and fearless, really. And the movie, like I said, it's way, 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 way out there, but it's like nothing you've ever seen. I did want to mention, I went into the movie a little bit concerned. I thought that they would force some Cageisms on us, like in The Wicker Man, when the ladies kill him at the end and he's like, not the bees, not the bees, that they were gonna do a lot of stuff like that. I think that if you forced those kinds of situations into a movie and made him act that way, it would come across as insincere. And I'm really glad they didn't really do a whole lot of that. I think that the movie, and that's part of the reason why this movie works, the movie actually does have its own entertainment value without trying to just rely on the caginess. The caginess is there. It's just, it's not forced. So I wanted to mention that too. And I got to mention, interesting scene, the younger Nicolas Cage, like the crazy vampire's kiss, wild at heart Nicolas Cage, talks to him in like 2 or 3 scenes. And so it's like this younger version of Nicolas Cage with the CG that makes him look younger, which is really noticeable and sometimes pretty bad, especially when they talk. When those CG characters talk, it's like it's very obvious, but he's so bizarre that it kind of works. And he's just like, yeah, we're gonna come back, man, we're gonna be, Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage. And it's just so great. You gotta watch it. 4 cat paws. I was gonna give it 3.5, but I'm rounding up to 4. So if you love Nicolas Cage, watch it. And I will see you at the next one. Bye!